because I don't think it allows me to access the links that are in there as well. And so let's see if we can't get. There we go. It's my understanding that as soon as I end this session, that this will be available in the resources. And in the early session, I also took a copy of the chat transcript and sent that to DPI and asked them to upload that as well. So that should be available. This presentation should be available to you as soon as we end the presentation. For those who don't know me, I'm Dennis Perks. I'm not the Adobe video design expert. I'm just someone that's been around for a while. I was able to pilot these classes when they first came out. I don't even know, 8, 9, 10 years ago. And I also had the opportunity to go downtown to DPI for a few years and work with the educational consultants. And so I was exposed to the mile-high view of what happens. And now I'm back in the classroom at Apex Friendship High School and Love and Life. So I don't claim to be the expert. I'm just someone who I guess is familiar. And so when they ask me to host these best practices, I'm more than happy to. But by all means, chime in with any other ideas. We generally get 2 categories of people here: those that have been doing this for a while and are looking for some specific answers on new changes, and then those that are pretty new and are looking for some answers all around. And so hopefully we can cover the material in a way that satisfies everybody. So let's start with our course sequencing. And this is the same right now for Adobe Visual Design, right? This is our pathway. And so we can see that Adobe Visual Design is listed as a prerequisite in this pathway. And then at the level 2 is either Adobe Digital or Adobe Video Design, right? And we've had so many discussions over the years about prerequisites, and you know, you don't really need Photoshop to do video, and it used to be you had to do digital before video, and so we know that it's not an ideal situation, but there is.
Excuse me, Dennis, you're still loading your presentation. We've got little swirlies on our side.
Oh goodness, I see it clearly on mine. Let me try to stop and then try it again.
Okay, just popped up again. You're good now, Dennis. I can see the opening title slide.
Okay, but I need you to see my slide. So let's see. Screen share. And I don't see that my screen share is wanting to work. Let me try again. Let me move my tab back over. Screen share. Share. All right, I guess while I work on figuring out what is up with my screen share, here is a link to this presentation. So if anyone wants to follow along live in that way. And I will continue. It looks like it wants to let me share. Are y'all seeing anything on the screen?
Yes, we see welcome to 2021.
And that's not what we should be seeing. Any change? Course sequencing, can you see that?
Nope.
All right, well, let's make lemonade, and I'll tell you what slide I'm on as we're talking about it. And you can just use that link to follow along. Hopefully anyone that comes in late will be be able to figure it out. So basically, visual is a prereq, right? And then if you take either digital or video, you're considered a concentrator. It used to be 3 courses. It is now 2, which is nice because it means more concentrators. And concentrators are tied to the Perkins legislation and us being able to demonstrate that kids are taking multiple classes in a pathway. You can see a CTE major is 3 courses, prereq plus concentrator plus a 3rd course from the pathway. And then there's this newer thing called the NC Academic Scholar, whereas if you take 4 electives in the pathway, and then there are some additional requirements related to other core classes, you can get that on your diploma. All right, so for CTE, we're thinking concentrator 2, CTE major equals 3. The good news coming out around this is that there is a vision to broaden these pathways. One of the discussions that have been had over the last few years is it's difficult for our students to jump right into the Adobe stuff, especially Adobe Visual, because that has 3 credentials in it. And for those that have been around, we used to have 2 courses, multimedia and web page design, which is MOD, and digital media, which were really a sampling of print design, Photoshop, Illustrator, audio, video, animation, and web page design. So MOD served sort of as a foundational course to be exposed to all of the Adobes. And that had gone away, and now digital media, I believe, has gone away as well. Well, the good news is for not this year, but next year, they're looking at bringing that back and calling it Creative Design Fundamentals. So it would be similar in content, and it would be added to this pathway as a supplemental course, which now means if you wanted to have students come in and maybe take that as a freshman or before visual, they will be exposed to all of the Adobe software or the skills associated with those standards in advance. It won't be required, right? It will be supplemental. So now the schools that feel like they need that additional foundational course will have it. The other thing that they're doing is they're looking to add a visual 1 and 2, a digital 1 and 2, and a video design 1 and 2. And so instead of having to cross over the software, which is sort of different career fields in many ways, students will have a more direct line. And then ultimately, they might be able to take more than one of those pathways. And I believe they're hoping to get to that in the 2022-2023 school year. So those are really good things because it adds flexibility and it also adds more depth to our course sequencing. Anyone have questions on that? And I would say if you really, really want to be involved, I would be reaching out to your DPI consultant about, asking to be a part of the teams to have your voice heard. No questions on course sequencing. I thought digital media was being replaced by the Adobes. I know in Wake County it is, perhaps it's not statewide. Oh yeah, as a local option, yes. And multimedia and web page design, I believe, is still available as a local option as well. There's Miss Linda. Hi, Miss Linda.
Hi, Dennis. I'm here.
Yes.
I can't see your screen, but I'm here.
Yeah, I can't get it to share. I mean, I could see it. It shows me what to click on. When I click share, it says sharing, but I don't think it's coming through. So is it coming through now?
It's the arrows are spinning.
Okay. I did drop, I don't know if you were here, Miss Linda, I did drop the direct link to the presentation in the chat.
I saw that. I've got it up on my other screen. This has been happening in several of our sessions, so I'm not sure what the problem is, but I'm going to report it to the headquarters and see if they can do anything about it.
That's all right. Well, we can handle it. Any other questions on the course sequencing? I mean, I would just say that over the last several years, this almost, to me, addresses almost everybody's concerns about flexibility, foundations, and depths. So All right, if there's no other questions on sequencing. When we're talking about PD, I think there's a number of options, right? This is my slide 3. All right, you can go out and find some paid courses, such as at a community college, and there's a lot of online courses that you can get reasonable. My go-to, as someone who knows the software but is continually learning, is Adobe Help X. And so you'll see the help to Adobe, the link to Adobe Help X Premiere Pro. But for any of the Adobe projects, if you just go out and search Adobe Help X, one word, and then the name of the software, it will take you to a site that has 3 options, right? Get started, tutorials, and user guide. And the tutorial section, more so to me than Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, or these others, is so valuable, and it is for a few reasons. Number one, they're quality videos. I think Adobe's done a great job of screening. You'll see a few people that do a lot of videos. And so they're really well done. There's a lot of different options, right? Everything from getting started, importing, animation, color adjustments. And you'll find once you get into some of the early ones, they'll have a breadcrumb for you. But more importantly, and this was something I was looking for a number of years, is a lot of them have the assets for the tutorial that are there. So for example, I used to use the Classroom in a Book, and that would come with a CD with all the files. But unless you bought the Classroom set, you weren't supposed to use it with the students, and getting it to the students was very difficult and clunky. So not only for you now, but if you use these in class, the sample files are available so that you can follow along with the videos. So if you know nothing about Adobe Video, you can go to the HelpX Premiere Pro site and really get your learning curve up very quickly. So I can't stress that enough. We did some CTE summer conference on-demand videos. You know, when I was asked what could we do, I had to think for a while. And so what I wound up doing was creating 2 bootcamp videos. And the bootcamp part 1 is really what I do in the first 2 weeks of my class. But I thought if you were new to the software, it would work just as well to help expose you to the video workflow. And so part 1 is what I do the first couple weeks, and I'll come back and expand on that in a little bit. And then part 2 would be more teacher oriented. It was 6 topics that you should be aware of that can help your students function a lot easier. And those topics we come back to later on in the course. And then there was a third one. It was just an R-Town video promotion that I did. So there are 3 videos that are available on demand through summer conference. And if you want to get CEU credits for those, you'll have to watch them during summer conference. But you'll also see that there is a link out to my webpage where they will be accessible in the future as well. There's also some Photoshop and Illustrator ones that I've done last year. All right, so that's another way. And then there are some online courses. It's hard to find complete free online courses, but I did list a couple basic ones on the bottom as well. I think we are trying to look at how to do a face-to-face training, and that news may be coming down the road. Anyone got questions on PD? All right, if you haven't visited, go to the Adobe HelpX tutorials. They're excellent. Curriculum options, all right? So we have where this all started, which was with the actual 3 Adobe curriculums. And there's a link on slide 4 out to the actual Foundations of Video Design curriculum. It's hosted through the Adobe Ed Exchange, so you'll need to sign in, but then you'll be able to see the modules as this all started, right? Video production basics, action events, news stories, public service announcements, portfolios, commercials, and mini documentaries. And so some people may still use that. That's where it all started. I will say there's also a lot of other resources on the Adobe Ed Exchange. It's improved significantly over the past couple of years. So you can search by software and find some other great resources. But that's where it started. If you want something that's much more structured, this is where you would work with Miss Christy Dye and then Pearson, I believe. And so there's a link out to their resources. The most common ones would be ACA Test Prep and then the Learn Key series. And so they would be very structured. They would have assets for you. They would have videos, and it would go in a very linear sort of chapter by chapter type of classroom. So again, provides a lot of structure, oftentimes is really good for new teachers. And then the third, which is what I use, is the ACA Test Prep and the Learn Key, they do cost money. And so you'll have to work with your local CT directors to fund those. I do a hybrid version, right? And I still do a lot of the projects that were in the original curriculum. I supplement my learning with other activities, both unplugged and project-based. And Adobe HelpX is definitely a part of that as well. So those are sort of the three obvious options, right? Use the original one, work with Pearson for something, or sort of create your own as you move along. Anybody have questions on that? So what textbooks are recommended if I rent one from the Amazon bookstore? I believe that currently there aren't any textbooks on the state recommended list. I know there was a review going on this year for the first time in a long time. If anyone's been around, they haven't really done new textbooks. I always enjoyed Classroom in a Book. It's from Adobe Press. And so I thought it was technically a really great option. You might even be able to find a website that will let you preview that online. Other than that, I think you'd want to look around. There's so many resources out there that maybe aren't textbook based, that are more online based. I see Jennifer up there says another PD option, Ed2Go classes through your local community college. Yeah, community colleges, self-paced, $85 is a really good deal, and that is another great option. I hate to say this in a way that puts the responsibility on us, but in these classes, we really are sort of responsible for our own learning curve. And even if we go ahead and take one of these structured classes, every single semester, I'm learning more and more and more, and in particular with Premiere Pro, as opposed to something maybe like Photoshop that I've worked with forever. So you got to get out there, and you really got to jump in. But when I was using a book, I was using Classroom in a Book. The Adobe HelpX, the thing, again, that's nice about that is they're providing videos and assets. And so let's say you wanted to teach the kids how to do a multi-camera edit. They'll give you the clips that can automatically sync up. Before the pandemic, there was like one day a week where this was going to be HelpX Day. And the kids would come in, they'd know what topic it was, right? And oftentimes they would say, I didn't know you can hold the shift key when you do that type of edit. And I'd be like, well, we talked about it 4 times, but them seeing it and practicing it really is helpful. Or, how much more you can do with transitions than just apply them. So the books are good, but I think HelpX does almost as much. All right, any other curriculum questions? Let me go back up. Kevin says, how did we find the links to watch the video to get the CEU? You would have had to enroll in those classes, those on-demand classes. And I'm not sure if you can go back and do it now, but I know you have to do it through this event platform in order to get those credit.
Dennis, this is Lynn
Yes.
Belay. The links for the recordings will be available through August the 13th for CEUs. So you do have to watch those before August the 13th to get that credit.
So you would have to go back, add those classes and watch them and through this platform, but we will make them available for you after that as well. All right. And certification, right? It's what it's all about. The nice thing about the video class is you have one piece of software. I know some people may supplement with Audacity or try to do a little bit of After Effects. But as far as the course standards and the proof of learning, you have one piece of software. So I really do feel like there is a lot of time to focus on that, right? And for those of you that are new, that's an important thing. There is no longer a state test for Adobe visual design, video design, or digital design. The credential is the proof of learning, right? So in theory, if the student achieves that, then they don't have to take some sort of end of course assessment or project or something along those lines. So in order to do the certification, you're going to need to make sure you get the ACA classroom license bundle. That should give you the ability to test in your classroom, or there was a lot of discussion earlier that now that we've been through this remotely, if you're having issues in the classroom with Compass, you can still do it in the classroom as if they were at home. So there's more flexibility there. And if you get the bundle, it should include Gmetrics, which is the simulation platform. And I would be willing to bet that there's not a veteran teacher on here who would say that there is any better way to prepare for the credentials other than those Gmetrics simulations, right? Gmetrics is made, the larger company that's involved, right, is the same one writing the certification. So they're very, very well aligned to the actual certifications. So if you are a new teacher, you want to make sure that you're advocating to be able to take those credentials. Again, that is the proof of learning. There is no state final. So let's see. Video this year will be Premiere and Photoshop. No, video it will just be Premiere. Visual design, proof of learning for visual will be Photoshop and Illustrator. InDesign has been removed out of that proof of learning. And if you look at that blueprint, you'll see InDesign is still sampled at the end of the course, but the hope is that that gets moved into the level 2 course. Beth saying, what resources used for general video design concepts not related to the Adobe software? I think I have what I've accumulated over the year. And let me drop that. I think I started creating what I would call a content outline. So some sections might be better developed than others, but this is sort of my master outline that I go by. And I think you'll see a lot of those general concepts listed in there. If students don't pass the certification, there may be a local requirement, yes. It could be a project. In our county, they've tried to stress to make it project-based. It could be a teacher-made exam or something else. So that is a local decision. That's correct, Wanda. Thank you. Yeah, George is mentioning that there are other possibilities to create graphics or edit. But again, you won't find those in the standard course of study. So that's all sort of bonus stuff. All right, so certifications, we certainly want those. What do you want the kid to do? You want them to walk out with something on their resume that says they've achieved that level of technical expertise. And it really, I think it helps to give them an edge. I will also say that I've got more emails for Adobe Video from students who are all over the country taking all sorts of majors, but they email back and say this is one of the classes that they use the skills regularly in, regardless of what their major is. So that credential, I think, really helps. All right, slide 6 is just reminding us that these courses are ripe for project-based learning, right? Real-world projects conducted over time, and in the end, presenting to an audience is a part of PBL. And we also have great resources in order to work with, right? Our CDC and our Business Alliance and our school would be willing to help. One example of that is we have one called Horse and Buddy, which is a therapeutic writing center. Our Business Alliance member was able to help us get assets to work with. Another cool one we did through our Business Alliance was I was able to get the Durham Bulls to provide us with some footage that the kids can use to make some hype videos that turned out pretty well. Unfortunately, the Bulls season didn't really happen last year, but that local connection was really, really good. Yesterday, I reached out to someone I know who works for the Carolina Hurricanes, and I'm trying to convince them to provide us with assets and then have a little contest and then hopefully maybe give some tickets to the winner. So anything you can do to localize it and make it real in PBL, this is, a course that just, it couldn't be any better for project-based learning. Here's the user guide. All of the user guides are online now. This is through the Moodle, so if you click it, it won't let you in. You're going to need a Moodle account, right? Nothing has changed in the blueprint from last year, and these still aligned to the credential, or at least the prior credential. There might be some updating coming down the road on the blueprint, right? But it's there. If you're new, you'll see each one has a weight. And if you wanted to try to really sync up with this, right, there are 90 days in a semester. I usually knock off 5 for final exams because they're not teaching days. And usually there's a couple other days, such as college entrance exams or something else that comes up. So I usually go off of the 80 days. So for example, objective 1, standard 1 is 10%. 10% times 80 would be spending 8 days on that standard. And then you can go ahead and break it down. And if you want to precisely distribute the course, that will help you to do that. But don't go based on 90 because you'll never get 90 days in a semester. Okay. Slide 8, honors level. I've added a link to our Wake County honors level document for this, right? An honors level, you're supposed to provide a 20% delta. What we've chose to do is to make a portfolio a part of it, which quite honestly, if you're not doing honors, you should still have a portfolio. We have a Wake County event that the kids have to create a video for. And then the third component is the students have to go out and find their own business or community organization, such as a nonprofit, and then go through the process of creating a product for them, everything from needs assessment, right? Shooting and getting assets, editing, getting feedback, and then eventually presenting. So that's what we do. And that could change because I know we're reviewing our honors course portfolios in a couple of weeks. But there's a link. It'll show you a pretty good format that matches up with the state's template. Under advanced studies, sometimes we get a question about what can we do to make advanced studies honors. My PLT co-leader and I came up with the first option was documenting your advanced studies experience. And that was either through some print or video, because it's the same for the Adobe stuff, could be any of those. But what would be better than a video documenting advanced studies and your interviews and your reflections? And so that was one. And the other would be to create a training series based on some sort of screen capture software as possibilities for honors suggestions for advanced studies. Questions on honors or advanced studies? You're welcome, Beth. All right, the equipment guide is in there as well. This is the newest equipment guide that's available. I believe Miss McPherson and or Linda Lay updated this just within the past year. Please note on there that some items are listed as required and some are not. What I'm saying to you is get what you can. I even bought, I've even bought some stuff myself. Like last year, I went out and bought a set of speakers, the big DJ ones. And do you know, one of my struggling students, when we got back to school this year, loved to DJ. He came in, he brought his mixer, set it up, he did a demo for everybody, and then I got him to do the senior picnic. And then from that, he had two job leads. And I haven't talked to him in the last month, but I know he was supposed to had 2 gigs. So for me going out and getting those speakers, that made it completely worth it. Something else that's a great optional buy would be like a little gimbal, smartphone gimbal. For $100, you can get a computerized gimbal. So even though some of them on here are required and others are suggested, you should try to work to build your inventory. I think the biggest advice I can give you on equipment is, we get the PC versus Mac question. Wake County, excuse me, I got a little cough. Wake County isn't supporting Mac labs anymore. So I have a Windows lab. Whatever you're getting, if you're getting a new lab, just push them to put as much RAM as they are willing to into the system. My refresh cycle was just before the year ended, and I went from 16 gigs of RAM to 32 gigs, and it makes all the difference for the video software. The Photoshop and Illustrator aren't nearly as resource intensive, so jack up the RAM as much as you can. Handling video storage is another difficult one. So each of our students gets network storage space, but even though people seem to think it's a lot, it's not. It's like, it was 250 megs, they made it 500. If you download the Gmetrics, that's 250 megs right there. So we have done a lot of sort of balancing. They all have OneDrive accounts, which is a good option because that lets you work live. You can archive stuff in Google Drive. But honestly, Beth, I think this year I'm going to go old school and require them to get flash drives again. See if I can get them to get a 64 or 128 gig flash drive. They don't know what they are, but that might be the easiest answer for that. Let's see. George, video cameras are a must. They are, and I have a lot, but I also find a lot of them are very comfortable shooting on their little HD cameras. Scripts and storyboards, we'll get to that. Deborah, external hard drives, I have a couple myself, but if you only have a few, to have them sort of be a shared resource, I find to be very difficult and clunky. So I use those to back up a lot on my own, but without a class set, I don't know that. I mean, we're looking at less than $10 for a pretty big flash drive these days, but I love them. Video cameras to begin with, new classroom. Honestly, Jennifer, I don't think it will be an issue. So when we're going to talk about learning teams, I think that will help to solve that idea for the student who doesn't have it. So let's see if we can get to that. And then mostly student phones these days, Rodney. I do have a few that if they were doing something for the school or those that I trust. So yeah, 5 years ago, video cameras were an absolute essential, and now there's a lot more flexibility with it. Anything else dealing with equipment specifically? I painted a back wall with some chroma green paint, and and that served better than the green screens. A small soundboard is great for podcasts and other things, and they're pretty inexpensive. So just keep adding to your inventory. Jennifer, I would say most phones today shoot in HD. So it should be more than enough resolution for Premiere Pro. The biggest challenge you have with the phones, honestly, is getting them to rotate that phone. But yes, most shoot in HD, so this should be more than enough. And some of them are exceptional. There's a new phone out that shoots in 8K I might be looking for on Black Friday. And you can even pull high resolution stills out. It's got such great quality. So. Deborah, I don't have any specific graphic cards recommendations. I would go out and look at the Adobe minimum system requirements and then try to surpass them. I don't find as much issues with the graphics card as I was with the RAM. And then the other thing with that is the storage. So half of the times the students tell me their software is crashing. It's because they've saved to their network drive, and their network drive is redlined. And so Premiere has nowhere to work with the scratch disks, and it's out of space. And so managing storage and RAM for me were the two bigger ones. Good point, George. Some of the newer iPhones shoot in an unusual, one of those proprietary formats. So there could be problems with getting those files off, or they may have to pay the 99 cents to do the conversions. So trying to get them to set the phone to record in a MP4 format is helpful. Yeah, minimum is not good. You're right, Deborah. Right, and I think a lot of times that's a RAM issue. So if you can get up to 32, we should be in good shape. All right, so learning teams. So this is one of the things that has worked better for me in video than any other class. All right, at the beginning of the year, I set up teams of 4 to 5 students per team. I don't assign assigned seats initially. I sort of try to see where they migrate. I say after day 3, that's your assigned seat. So if there's someone you want to work with, right, and give them a little time to sort of self-group. And then I create these teams of 4 to 5. I do it for a few reasons. One of the original reasons I did it is it's on the evaluation instrument. But when someone's come to interview, watch my class one day for 30 minutes, that could be tough. So I have them do their teams. Sometimes I take little pictures and they have team names. They're up on the wall. And while I'm being evaluated, I point to those pictures and reference learning teams until whoever's evaluating me chuckles and says, okay, I get it. You have learning teams. But I found in video, it's so much more effective because when they're working and they're creating their own videos, right, these teams will plan together, right? They'll brainstorm together. They'll storyboard and script together. So it's a very collaborative thing. They'll go out and shoot together. And if they need, they can pull people from other learning teams when they're shooting. And then, so therefore they have this group of this collection of footage, and then they all edit their own individual version, right? We do not have one person editing and the other 4 people sitting around. They all edit. So they all develop their own technical skills. They all have different audio, different editing choices, different titling. But the team really makes it easy for them not only to work together. If you had teams of 2, you had to satisfy 17 different shoots as opposed to maybe 5 or 6 teams. It just logistically becomes more difficult. And then I also find that when they're editing, they'll help each other because they're familiar with each other's content already. And so they naturally sort of fall into this collaborative process. You can certainly set a team leader and then rotate that if you want every couple of weeks. But it really works out well for the video. Now, if a couple of kids come to me and say hey, we want to do something different, I'll be flexible with it. But generally, this little learning team becomes very helpful in the video class. The key is whatever they're doing, podcast, PSA, is that they all are responsible for their own edited version. And I find that to be just one of my favorite things about the video class. Back to the cameras. If you do have some students who maybe don't have the same access to resources, one member, two members, three members of the team, almost always one of them has one of those nicer new cameras. And so it does help to also take the pressure off for the student who may not have access to that camera or equipment, right? It helps solve some of those equity issues. All right, anything else on learning teams? Okay, slide 12 is Premiere Pro Bootcamp. I've already alluded to this, but on day one, I start talking about Premiere and about editing. You'll see on the slide that I've included my link to the video and also my bootcamp notes instructor key. So while I have them still interested, they're still, eager and still well behaved, I run through probably the second half of each day for the first week or two. I demo all of Premiere Pro, and then they're taking notes on the note sheet that I have attached on this slide. I don't need them to be creating with me, although I do provide them clips. I want them playing, but I'm really exposing them to the entirety of what they would need to do to go through and create a video start to finish. And this came about, honestly, as a result of me looking at Classroom in a Book and using Classroom in a Book. And I thought to myself, I don't want to wait to chapter 7 to talk about transitions. And I don't want to wait till chapter 9 to show them how to adjust audio and add keyframes. And I don't want to wait till chapter 11. So this was me exposing them to everything. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do a deeper dive into all of these areas. But once you show them how to adjust audio, it doesn't matter whether they remember how to do it or not. What remembers is they know it's there, and then they'll ask you or one of their learning team members. And so it really gets their learning curve up really quick. And the first projects they're working on have titles, have transitions, have audio adjustments, right? And they sort of have everything that it takes to make a collective video. So Jennifer, slide 12 should have Premiere Pro Bootcamp. The link to the video was my instructional video as to what I teach them. And then the Bootcamp instructor key is my Google Doc with the content that I emphasize. And then I even have a quiz that focuses on that. And so the info that you'll see on the Bootcamp instructor key, a lot of this was driven by stuff that came out of the credentials. And so it's sort of the essence of the software and then a few other topics, right? And again, with transitions, we're going to go back in and we're going to do a much deeper dive on audio. This is the Premiere in a nutshell type of thing, right? So as I already mentioned, I feel like it increases their learning curve significantly. The other thing that it does is, we're not trying to scare anyone out of our class, but anyone who thinks they're coming in there to watch videos for 80 days and then you show them the software, it's very fair of you to have them understand that this is a technical class. And so it's sort of like computer programming is another one of those classes, right? Someone plays games, so they want to go and be a great game designer. And then you go into programming and you spend 2 weeks on the history and and then after it's too late for them to transfer out of the class, you start coding and they're like, I can't do this. So I feel like this boot camp really exposes them early on to the nature of the course as well, to make sure that you've got good placements, if that makes sense. Is there any other questions on Premiere Pro philosophically? I've had other teachers that have adopted it. It works well. I think you may have to understand your students, and can you get going that quickly? But again, it is surface level stuff. And even with the notes at the end of the class, I'll just put them up on the projector and say, hey, if anyone missed, here it is. Like, and I'm not trying to play got you. You know, I just want to get things going quickly, and I found it to be very successful. The boot camp part 2, that is part of summer conference. I don't do in the beginning of class. It's there for teacher reference. So if you were a new teacher and you watched part 1 and part 2, in essence, that could serve as a very condensed Premiere Pro training as well. All right, if there's nothing on boot camp, there's a slide on online alternatives. I'm praying we don't have to deal with this again. There really is no good online alternative to Premiere Pro. Movie Player, Windows Movie Player is a good one that's no longer supported, but I believe there might be an online version of that now. WeVideo functions very well. The free version has restrictions, and you can only export for 5 minutes a month, so that has challenges. You can get a teacher trial version for 30 days to help with some of that. Clipchamp has been a good one. So for my Chromebook kids during the pandemic, I had them working between those two based on restrictions. If they're able to download, DaVinci Resolve is actually a fairly powerful editor. Probably the closest thing on my list to Premiere Pro that has a free version. And I have some good editors that use that. With audio, it's a little easier, right? Audacity is free, and I use that in class even a lot. And then if they have a Chromebook, beautiful audio editor is a good alternative as well. YouTube editor can work. And so outside of Premiere Pro, if we're in a remote learning situation, it's pretty challenging. So you really got to make lemonade. And then obviously, you know, I didn't hold the fact that there was limited features against any of the students. And so that slide is there, but let's just pray that we're all back happy and healthy in our best environment. All right, unplugged activities. This was one of the things remote learning helped me develop further. And sometimes I find myself giving too much editing time and the students need to break. So you got to try to balance it out. I will even try to get a weekly sort of groove going once we get through our boot camp. Usually Monday, they know, is going to be a notes theory lecture day. They always know that Friday is going to be a full editing day. You know, Tuesday might be a hands-on skill with some help, Adobe Help X stuff. So you can sort of try to break up and find a rhythm, but working these unplugged activities, I think is good for I think they enjoy it. For example, the first one I have there, a group scene writing activity. We do that early on. It gets the learning teams together. They work collaboratively. They don't shoot the scene, but they do present the scene. And, you know, just by reading the script. So that's always fun. We have an anatomy of a scene. I added this last year. I don't watch a lot of movies with the students. I never have. And if I do, I'm certainly not just trying not to teach for 2 days by showing them a movie. But anatomy of a scene, taking a really well developed or poorly developed scene, watching it, and then having them break it down and talk about it. That was something that I got better with during the pandemic. And so there's an example of the worksheet, and there's one for Hidden Figures, and there's some teacher background in there. And I like that. Story writing templates. I've been trying to get them to do a little bit more of that, and I'll mention a specific site in a minute. That's great. And then just creative writing prompts. I mean, you could have it up on the board as a do now, and then that could be something to get your class started every day, right? So, for example, which food would you take to a deserted island and why? Right? Your house is burning. What 3 things do you save? So you could have a little daily journal where they work with those, and then we know that people don't want to talk anymore, so maybe this helps them to talk. So I have spent more time with unplugged activities as a result of the pandemic, and I think it has made me a better teacher. Creating projects on slide 15, you'll see I really have 2 categories there. One is projects where I'm providing them something and their focus is editing, and the other ones are team created where they're going, through the whole process and shooting. So, for example, the Our Town promotion, and there's an on-demand video for this one. This was a result of the pandemic. I knew that they weren't going to be able to shoot footage together, and there were going to be individual challenges. So I reached out to 2 businesses in our area that had aerial footage of the town. They were nice enough to share it with me, and so I was able to provide the students with the footage, and then they made these great Apex, North Carolina promotional videos. I did the same thing with a real estate. One of my colleagues who has his own business, I said, hey, you're doing a lot of videos right now in real estate. Can you provide me with some footage? That's not an exciting project, but it's real world, and he's making $400 a pop for them. And they are able to, if they pay attention, they're able to really create a nice product. And then I have hype video listed for a third one that would be provided footage. And we do one of both our high school football team, and we did some for the Durham Bulls. So that's you providing them footage, and their focus is editing and refining their editing skills. They're usually 3 to 5 day projects. And then when we have our longer ones, like a public service announcement, and they have to go through brainstorming, storyboarding, script writing, shot lists, shooting the footage, and then editing the footage, they're usually 5 to 10. I also have down the bottom, localize whenever possible. If you got a nonprofit that needs something in the area, a family-owned business, right? Reach out to your business alliance. Right? The more local it is, the more connected they are. So that's pretty much how I run my projects: short 1 week or longer 2 weeks. And then, of course, on slide 16, it's like, if you don't want to do that, tell me what you want to do. Right? I have an open policy that if you want to do something else, all you have to do is sit down with me and we can talk about it and we can agree on it. Right? It has to have some sort of equivalency. It can't just be you editing LeBron James videos for 80 days. But if it's something for school or something for another a club or a family business or anything else, I would much rather them do something that is real to them if they have an opportunity. Questions or comments about projects? So there's no limit to what you can do. On the next slide, which is slide 17, there's a link to my sort of matrix that developed from remote. On there, you'll see project guides for a lot of different projects. One that I get a lot of emails from about people across the state is 2 Minutes of Fame. It's basically them sitting and talking on whatever topic, and then you create like a YouTube jump cut style video. Be a really good one for the beginning of the year. Maybe them talking about how happy they are to be back or goals or whatever. The B-roll challenge is a great one. That's foundational. Before they shoot any other videos, we do Ken Burns and B-roll. You'll see PSA and commercial and the real estate in our town. And you'll see some that don't have project guides that I want to create project guides for. But there's at least 15 potential project guides for you to use. Underneath that, you'll see where it says activities and notes, and these are just some, again, that developed out of the pandemic. A few of them, I do like to show some 7 to 10 minute technical videos or technique videos, but I don't want them to tune out. So you'll see like under the ones where it says filmmaker IQ, blocking scene summary, or any of them that have the summary on there. I discovered if I just ask them to take bulleted notes while they're watching the video and then create a 3 to 5 sentence summary at the bottom, it not only satisfies me getting them to pay attention, but it also demonstrates writing and summarizing and pulling out important facts. So I use that same forum on a number of different ones. Like down the bottom, it'll say about the gimbal, the gimbal one. And so I had them take bullets on all the different gimbal shots and then do a summary. And then that'd be a great one where if you have a gimbal, you can have them go out and try to duplicate it. So there's worksheets there in the middle, some technique videos. Down the bottom, you'll see some of the Adobe Help stuff that I use mostly. And down on the bottom, I'm trying to develop this 1-page checklist. So whenever the students are creating a video, they're reflecting on, did I use a variety of shot types? Did I consider rules of composition? Did I tweak the audio? Did I auto match dialogue? What have I done with effects and transitions? Have I color corrected? So that's a work in process as well. But at least that link, if you're new, might give you access to some project guides to start as a foundation. Where are we at? Read source sites on 18. There are some sites where you can go and they have 10 great videos. Rocket Jump Film School, I love. Studio Binder. The Evernote writing templates one, I love too. There are 12 free templates you can use to learn to write creatively. Ones that I have used in the past year are story premise worksheet, where they have to do that. The 3-act plotting, right? 3-act structure is a very important thing. And the character development one. So great writing activities. They can do it either individually or collectively. Peter McKinnon is a master. That's where I stole the B-roll stuff. So there's 5 links, and each one of those pages should have multiple nuggets in there for you. And then my last one is called the best practice. And it is just to say, remember that the best thing we can do as Adobe teachers is really connect with these kids, right? Build them up, be open for them. I'm open as soon as I get to school, every lunch that I'm not on duty or in a meeting. And if they need me after school, I accommodate as much as I can. This class, if you can't get around and talk with and get your kids to share ideas in this type of class and environment, I don't know. I don't know what to say, because sometimes it's just so incredibly collaborative, it'll drive you crazy. But we really have chances to connect with kids about things that are important to them, to help them create something that they're proud of. And I feel so blessed. I sometimes say math teachers are my heroes, because I don't know if I could hold the kids' interest in those classes, but in here, it just doesn't get any better to me. All right, so let's see what we got. Post-Olympics could be great topics, especially with the new sports included this year. Yes, it could be. And that thing where it's like, if you want to do something else, I go back to my student who did the DJ stuff. By helping him and substituting a project out, he got much more connected. And my class wound up being the one that his parent would email and say, thank you. This is the reason he wanted to come to school. And, we just really have so many great opportunities to get them excited about stuff that they want to work with. I will give you one caveat. I've been talking with my admin, and I'm sure everyone is aware of, there's a lot of controversy going on today about what is happening and being taught in schools, and specifically sort of the politics that is creeping in. And I know that I think there is some legislation right now where they are trying to identify what we cannot and should not be teaching in school. And really a lot of emphasis on you teaching your standards and objectives and not veering off and bringing in your own ideas. Well, that's hard in here because we're teaching our standards and objectives, but you're going to get kids who want to do very controversial topics. I would never tell a kid no. I would certainly maybe talk to my leadership, but my philosophy for them is I say, we want to try to do an anti video. So let's take gun rights, right? If you want to do something with gun rights, I'm an ex-veteran. I don't own a gun. I'm neither for nor against. But if they want to do one, it's probably going to be one of those, gun rights are great, gun rights are horrible. I try to shift them to maybe an anti-violence topic, because who wants to say that we should have more violence in the world? So I think we are in a situation with the current environment, and there's going to be legislation coming out about what should and shouldn't be in the classroom. We need to be particularly careful and mindful of whatever does come out this year as far as LEA policy, state policies, and legislation. Beth says, any video competitions that you know of? You know, there used to be a couple good local ones. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. How much time do you spend teaching non-software stuff like camera skills, composition, acting, and speaking? I don't do a lot with acting and speaking, but that might be a reflection of my stiffness. We do a lot with camera skills and composition. Like, for example, the gimbal project or the B-roll project is a great project, right? First, they do a shot type video and then B-roll. And so that's a lot of that sort of camera skills. I do try to show those short videos with the little summaries as we're moving along to try to add to that. For the example, there's some really good one on transitions, in camera transitions. So maybe 10-minute short little video summaries to try to fill that in. I'd like to do more acting and speaking, but I haven't gotten there yet. Thank you, Scott. Not only FBLA, but DECA, TSA, and Skills USA all should have skills related events related to video editing. And I know I've checked at least 3 of those 4 within the last 2 weeks to make sure that they do have competitions related to it. So in a nutshell, right? The first thing you want to do is make sure that you're getting your skill set to a level that you feel comfortable. What curriculum path are you going to follow? Making sure that we're dealing with the standards, and then sort of try to create a rhythm if you can with the kids about, like I said, you know, we're going to do more theory earlier in the week, and if everybody behaves by Friday, it's a full editing day. Vary your projects, give them some projects early on that help develop their skills, and then get them into creating their own. And it's just a great course. There really is enough time because it's one piece of software. You just got to keep them working, right? Just got to keep them moving forward.
I wanted to ask you a quick question. I really loved how you had your days kind of structured like. So you were saying that on Fridays, it's definitely always editing day. On Mondays, you kind of go over, like, that would be like the PowerPoints maybe. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So this last year was definitely very different. But prior to that, after we do the boot camp, I would come back and do a deeper dive into the project panel, the source monitor. And so each week, one week might be audio, And so, yes, introduce the theory, maybe have them do some writing on Monday. On Tuesday, something that is applying that. On Wednesday, excuse me, on Wednesday could be independent practice on that. But oftentimes, the later the week progresses, the more when they're working on their own projects, they need 2 or 3 days to go out and shoot. So the deeper we are into the week, the more it is student-centered. The earlier part is more theory and reinforcement of those theories and skills. And if you find a rhythm, I just found that every Monday I'd hear them be like, "Oh, today's notes day," and they wouldn't be upset about it. They just understood sort of the flow. And Friday was always a reward that they knew it was a full edit day. So let's see what else we got. Audio, radio contest, TV, video production contest, Skills USA. Yep. Beth says, very impressed with some of the student work. Yes, and me as well. Like our town productions were as good as the productions that originally, inspired me to do those. Our hype videos, there's some really good hype videos out there. And so if you get that foundation, I think that's part of where the boot camp helps too, exposing them early to all of that. And they'll come back and say, "Hey, how did you apply that Lumitri look?" So it really is. It's more blessed to be able to teach this class. I do honors visual and honors video. Those are local decisions. So short of the Certiport presentation, which took up about 30 minutes earlier, that's all I have. Anyone want to unmic and add anything at all? How about if there was going to be a level 2 class, what would it look like to you? What projects would be in a level 2 class versus a level 1 class? Yep, Kevin brings up a great point. There's a lot of motion graphic templates, title templates, tons of things that you can import. And I think we looked at that in the boot camp. A show reel of their work is a great final project. Asking them to include a few bloopers at the end of each team project usually works well. Yeah, Allison, that's one of my big questions too about the After Effects. I go back and forth on that one. Sometimes I want the level 2 to be them really sharpening their editing skills, like a short film and documentary, and then a lot of people like After Effects and maybe a little unit in After Effects, because I know there's a credential for that as well. Good question, Beth. I post some. We oftentimes will take time to watch them as a class. Sometimes I'll share them out with parents. I do have a teacher webpage that I'll put some stuff on as well. I think it is something that I can get better at. Sometimes I'll share them out with the school. Catherine, I would say for that, if you look at that sort of outline that I had, has some categories of vocab in there, like shot types and video genres and general terms. So Georgia, is your question is there item banks out there? As far as I know, the unsecured item banks are still available in SchoolNet. I will say the last time I reviewed them, I would review them and I might use them, but I didn't let them drive my instruction, as I felt like some got incredibly detailed or a little bit wide of the scope. You're welcome, Catherine. Yeah, geometrics is a must. I had a goal last year of a film festival. Obviously, that didn't happen. I think this year I might try to implement that. POV pandemic videos, yeah. Jennifer, I don't believe there is a best practices session for Adobe Digital. I believe we tried, but weren't. I haven't taught it, and so I don't know that it made it.
And as I have some flashcards in geometric, I posted in the chat room link.
Thank you, George. I'm going to export the chat and then have that uploaded to the resources for this session as well. So any of the stuff that's been posted by your colleagues, you'll be able to have access to. Yeah, I like those as well. I really like the modify the genre ones. I also, in a couple of mine, did have a specific time requirement, like it must be 60 seconds. And I really find that that makes them sort of work and grind and make some of those nitty gritty decisions as well. So anyone know if the session survey is required? And I do not believe that the session survey is required. I believe in the correspondence I saw, it said, feel free to fill out the session survey for all of your sessions if you like. But if Linda's here, maybe she should. Miss Linda had to go. I don't think it's required. You're welcome. You're welcome, Wanda. Kids love this project. Students will be challenged to create a film in 1 week using a surprise message prompt and actually. Nice. Nice. Old out of the hat prop trick. Love that. Try to remain really aware of the generation gap and how I perceive certain videos versus the content that they're constantly consuming. So yeah, none of them know who Ken Burns is, nor do they necessarily care. So yeah, I would typically find one of his works, and then the way I try to get them connected to that is it's one of the first projects they do. So I try to tell them that they need to gather images that are personal to them. So a family, I call it "Make Me Laugh, Make Me Cry." Right? I want something that's going to evoke emotion. So it could be, their baby pictures as they growing up, or a family trip, or a lot of them will go to the pet thing. And then because they're their pictures, and I think it helps when we're talking about using pan and zoom and focal points, that the pictures are personal to them. And I know that has been helpful. The big challenge there is none of them have pictures that are landscape, right? So I've had to give up on that fight and just ask them to either make them all portrait or all landscape. And if they're portrait, I just put the spin on it that they're really designing, for a social media site, but try to make the images personal to them. And then I think oftentimes after we leave Ken Burns and they shoot a video clip, they forget that they can create movement in the video clip using the same techniques. So I try to stress that as we continue on, right? Subtle movements. Yep. And the parents always like when they, it's a little family video of some sort. If they can get their parents' wedding photos or something, I just stress that it needs to be emotional, right? I don't want them to go out and take all SpongeBob pictures from the web. And then the biggest challenge there is, how do I get pictures off my phone? And I say, I'm not telling you. There's 10 different ways. I know you can do it. Oh, love the film Noir. It's a good one. Good variety of shot types, right? A little bit of camera movement to build a little tension. I think that would make a great sort of middle of the second semester one, right after they've built that skill set up and have some confidence. All right, I'm going to leave the chat up. I don't have anything else. Like I said, without the Certiport people, we intentionally wanted to make this session longer than shorter. So feel free to continue to share, and I will remain available until, I'm not going to say the last of you is gone, because some of you might already be gone, which is fine. But as I see the number dwindle down, and then I'll end the session. But feel free to stay and share. Pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your summer. If I ever get a little more organized, a lot of this would probably make a nice website. Thank you, Georgia. Pleasure. I'd like you to re-explain the changes coming. I still teach digital media and look to see what is happening statewide. Okay, so you were doing the digital media LCO, right, Rebecca? So currently, right, we have Adobe Visual. You're welcome. Adobe Visual is the level 1 course, and then it's Adobe Video or Digital, and then we have our Advanced Studies internship section. What they want to do is add a foundational course, which would be similar to Digital Media 1, right? Digital Media 1 and Multimedia and Web Page Design both covered like 7 programs for a little bit, right? It was a great foundation. So they're looking at adding that back in, but not as a requirement, right? So I happen to be in Apex, North Carolina, where I have a pretty high performing school. So I would not want to require that for students to get into my Adobe courses, but maybe I ask them to offer that as a freshman level course. And for a school maybe where, it's a little bit lower, poorer performing, they may ask the kids go through this class because it'll help them be more successful with the Adobes. So that is not considered a level 1 class. It's considered a supplemental, right? If you look on the second slide, other supplemental courses right now are Word and PowerPoint, career management, and personal and professional skills. So if we can get a supplemental course that is actually foundational to the software, that would be very helpful. And then they're hoping, instead of having visual, video, and digital to be a pathway, each one would be broken out into its own pathway. So there would be Visual 1, Visual 2, and then perhaps Advanced Studies, Digital 1, Digital 2, Advanced Studies, Video 1, Video 2, Advanced Studies. So technically, you could have a kid who comes in, does the foundational course, Visual 1, Visual 2, comes back for Video 1 and Video 2. And so it's really been lacking that second course in each area to take those skills that you've learned and expand on them. But the wheels of DPI move slowly. So I think the goal is to have those in place for the 2022-2023 school year. Yes. So in the old days, you had to take digital before video. I can get 400 kids that want to take the video class, but maybe only 15 want to create web pages in Dreamweaver. So that was a real barrier to developing that program. So this is better than that, because now you don't have to go through digital to get to video, and then eventually you'll be able to specialize. So yes, and then again with the supplemental course, there were a lot of people when mod went away that said our students need that. So we should have now flexibility. We should have the ability to supplement and the ability to specialize. I haven't heard anything about a class. I personally struggle with the idea of the level 2 video class becoming an After Effects class, because I think the level 1 video builds such a good foundation that I would like the students to create much more significant projects. But I think After Effects should probably be included in there. But I haven't heard anything about an After Effects class on its own. I have had a few students who have attempted the credential because there is a credential available for it. And I think it sounds like you've used After Effects. I get concerned that After Effects is more technical than any of these other Adobe courses, and that it could provide a significant challenge from a professional development point of view. So doing a whole class would really be far more technical in my mind than any of the other Adobes. It could be a great advanced studies option though. So students who choose to sit and work with it would be able to explore it all they wanted to. I agree. And that's, that's the question, is how does it fit in? It could, Jennifer. I mean, I know it's, Premiere has some challenges, and we know After Effects is likely to be more resource intensive. So it's just, I don't know that's going to be one of those topics that I don't think we're going to get any universal agreement on. So the question would be how to build some flexibility into that, or how to maybe sample it, and then if a kid wanted to do it in advanced studies. So those discussions definitely need to happen. Yeah, Catherine, I think the good thing about that is with the Digital Media 1 and the multimedia curriculum, the core is there, and so I don't think anything's being created from scratch, and so it should be a reasonably simple process compared to creating a curriculum from scratch. All right, what else? Yeah, right. Tough one, Jennifer. My best advice is after they're finished with a project, try to get them to upload that whole folder to like Google Drive. Challenge with Google Drive is if you use this Google Drive and then they graduate, they have a very limited amount of time before that information goes poof. So, and then if you have them use their own Google account, then then they're coming after you for security issues, confidentiality. So it gets a little harder every year. I think that's why I'm going to go with the flash drive this year. Make them keep it in class. Yeah. It's a pleasure. Reach out, dperks@WCSS. OECPSS.net, if you ever need anything. 2 S's in there. You too. I'll be jumping in a car at 3 o'clock to hit the beach for 2 nights. So trying to squeeze some stuff out with the kids. You're welcome, Georgia. Enjoy the rest of your summer.
Hello, Dennis. How are you?
Good, George. What's up?
I just got kicked out somehow, so I logged back in to tell you thank you for all your great presentations today.
It's a pleasure, George. Thanks for all your help.
Yeah, anytime, reach out. I'm gonna try to do video and visual and digital all this semester, all 3 at one time.
You have always been a workhorse, George. I don't know how you do it.
Got to stay busy, else I go crazy.
Hopefully next year we'll see each other face to face at a summer conference.
Yeah, are you gonna be on the teams on the level 2 designs?
I would certainly be willing to serve on visual and video.
Yeah.
I hope so. But if you are interested, I would definitely reach out. I know one of the things we always tried to do was make sure you spread it out among the LEAs. So
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't hear anything about that yesterday during Linda's presentation for CSET. That caught me off guard.
yeah. I think for the level 2 for visual, it might be a little bit easier to work with. If you basically take the InDesign component from one, and then there was an LCO out there that was sort of a project-based version
Right.
of level 2. And so if you combine those two, it might actually go a long way towards having an initial structure. So we'll see what happens.
Are you redesigning the old mod course for the new one they're talking about for next year?
I don't know who's doing it, but I know it's just going to be a refresh. So it should be pretty similar to the mod versus Digital Media 1 course. And I don't know who's on the team to refresh it.
Yeah, I like the old Digital Media 1 and 2 courses we got through Key2L. That was a great lead-in to the Adobe products. I don't know why they got rid of that. Now they're bringing it back for some reason.
I love the mod course. I mean, I felt like that was anyone who hadn't even taught it before. There was enough structure there, and all the project guides were in place, all the notes were in place. So
yeah,
I agree with you.
Yeah, I looked at the new course they want $495 for, but I said I don't need to go that much route.
Yeah, it's a tough one, and we'll see how they do. I appreciate that they're trying to fill that void.
Yeah, because that's all I'll do at the beginning of the semester, teach new teachers where all this stuff is located at. They'll have a fogget where to find all this stuff.
There might be a one-day technical training coming down the pipe if we can get it in place. Just one 8-hour day on Premiere Pro, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Ivy. I love Mud too. Of course, I was on the curriculum team, so I was.
Yeah, I moved back in the day. You go back Computer House 1 and Computer House 2 days too, Dennis?
I do. Yeah, F1 and F2. Let's see, Premium Beats. I haven't. I've come across the website a lot. I think I usually jump out to YouTube. Free music library is probably my go-to, but I have come across them.
Are you guys having a problem finding qualified teachers to come to the classroom to teach?
At my school in CTE, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, we can't find teachers in Cumberland County to come in.
Well,
We got some programs I'll be closing down because we ain't got teachers to teach them.
we have one of those sort of perennial principles of the year that everybody loves. And it's a very fast growing area. Apex is one of the fastest. So generally people are looking at coming into that area. Plus, I'm sure you know Wake County has the largest supplement in the state.
Yeah. Got that big tax base up there to pay for all that stuff.
It's just growing so fast. I'm down in Fuquay, and we used to be thought of as that place you didn't want to be, and now we're like the next it town. So
yeah,
great for the property values, but lousy for the traffic.
Yeah. Most of them I try to go up 401 US 1 to Raleigh if anything. I don't stay up for 95 and 40. I can't mess with that mess.
Yeah.
Certain times of the day. All right, I got to do make another session. Thanks for your work, and I'll get you on Schoology, I guess, since you're running in on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're a Canvas school now.
We're not allowed to use Schoology. We could only use Google Classroom or Canvas. That's it.
All righty. You have a good afternoon.
You too, George.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. If anyone else doesn't have anything, I think I'm gonna call it. I don't want to cut anybody short, but I don't see any need for us to sit here for 20 minutes. And again, I will export the chat and ask that be uploaded. If anyone has any additional questions, reach out at any time, right? dperks@wcpss.net or any of your local colleagues. And other than that, I hope you have fun with it. Any last questions or thoughts? All right, y'all. Have a great session. Have a great end of your summer.